Mark Rogers TV's college football predictions. We went 21-3 last week. In week one, straight up 14-10 against the spread, 58% plus. Would like to do a little bit better than that. We did miss on our confidence pick. Vandy led us astray. We shouldn't have gone off the board of the top 25. We typically just pick the top 25 games, but I saw that Vandy at minus 13.5, and I just jumped on it. Could not imagine Vandy losing by 30 to UMass, incredibly. So anyway, we start off 0-1 in our confidence picks, but if you've joined us for the past three seasons, 75-41. 75-41 at confidence picks against the spread. All right, let's start from the top. Let's run down the games that have no line at this point. If there's a line that comes out, we will predict those lines, even though if you've heard me in the past, I hate the huge lines. You don't know who's going to be playing in the fourth quarter. You don't know how the coach is going to be play calling, and you don't know how motivated the players are going to be in the game because it's a scrimmage at that point. Okay, all the big favorites win these games. Florida State Citadel, Baylor Northwestern State, Texas A&M Lamar, LSU Sam Houston State, also have Wisconsin, Western Illinois, Clemson, South Carolina State, Louisville, Murray State, Nebraska, McNeese State, and again, the big favorites win all those games, and if the point spreads come out late, as they typically do on those games, we'll jump on them. All right, we got Bama, Florida Atlantic. Yes, in one camp you could say that Alabama's working on the passing game, and they're going to experiment a bit in this game, but they're at home. They know that they underperformed in front of a national audience last week. They will come out motivated. The defense will play much better. Florida Atlantic gave up, get this, 783 yards against Nebraska. Nebraska is not as good as Alabama, even with a first year, even though he's a senior, first-year quarterback in Blake Sims. Jay Coker comes in. He's going to want to prove that he deserves the job. So we expect Bama to hit on all cylinders in this one. Bama covers the 40, wins going away. Oklahoma-Tulsa. Tulsa has turned from a very solid contending Conference USA program that's now in the American Athletic Conference to a doormat. Oklahoma's one of the top teams in the country. They cover 24.5 in this one against the Golden Hurricane. We've got Auburn, we've got San Jose State, and although the Auburn Tigers completely outclass San Jose State in this one, the Spartans do get the 34 points, and it's tough to turn down 34 as Auburn does give up some points and some yardage there. Spartans take the 34 against Auburn, but the Tigers win huge. UCLA Memphis. The Bruins, like the Tide, know that they played on national television in week one and did not look good to the nation. Therefore, their preseason ranking of number 7 fell to 11. So they paid the penalty for only winning by 8 and only scoring one offensive touchdown against Virginia. We like UCLA coming back home. They had to travel all the way to the East Coast to Charlottesville, Virginia to take on the Cavaliers last week. They're in the comforts of the Rose Bowl against Memphis. UCLA with Brett Hundley win going away and cover the 23. Tricky game here. Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, the Commodores, and you can't overreact to week one. And yes, Vanderbilt, nothing close, it would appear, to the 9-4 team that we saw under James Franklin the past two seasons. Those two teams won bowl games as well, finished in the top 25. Then they come out against Temple, who went 2-10 in 2013, a MAC level, even though this year an American Athletic Conference level team, Vandy gets annihilated. Ole Miss looked pretty good in the second. Well, they looked really great in the fourth quarter in disposing of Boise State. Slow coming out of the gate, sluggish through three quarters. But Ole Miss superior in talent. They're settled at the quarterback position, unlike Vanderbilt. But we still 21 points at home for Vandy, and we just have to think that that's just too much to take. We like Ole Miss to win fairly comfortably, but take Vandy plus the 21 points. Arizona State plus 25-point favorite against a New Mexico State team that is a New Mexico team that is one-dimensional, can't throw the ball. Arizona State is playing on the road, and again, the large point spread, you don't know how they're going to relax possibly in the fourth quarter, but we still like the Sun Devils minus 25. North Carolina against San Diego State. The Aztecs have to come all the way east for this game. We like the Tar Heels to cover 15 points against San Diego State. Confidence pick, our first confidence pick of week 2. It was fool's gold in week 1 with Vanderbilt minus 13.5 against Temple. We like the SEC team again in this one. Missouri going to Toledo. They beat the Rockets last year by 15. Of course, Missouri lost all that NFL talent, the defensive ends, the corner, William Gaines, of course, as we mentioned, Ely and Sam. They lose the great receivers, but they still, Marcus Golden, Matty Mock didn't have a particularly great game in week 1 as Missouri was a bit sluggish in defeating South Dakota 38-18. They only led it by 3 in the fourth quarter. But I like Mizzou to get their act together at Toledo. I know the Rockets are a quality football team that romped New Hampshire in week 1, but it's only 3.5 points. Missouri's a much better football team. They're substantially better, not blowout fashion better, but they cover the 3.5 in a confidence pick on the road at Toledo in this one. Okay, we got K-State and Iowa State. I'm very confident that Bill Snyder's team will have it together at Iowa State, even though the Cyclones play much better traditionally at home. Typically, everybody does. But for a bad football team, perennially, Iowa State plays much better at home, plays a legitimate brand of football at home. But K-State will cover 11.5 despite some offensive limitations. Okay, confidence pick here. And this one screams confidence pick. And again, possibly fool's gold. South Carolina looked atrocious in week 1. Kenny Hill, 511 yards and 3 touchdowns, 52 points against that South Carolina defense. But I think they cannot in any way completely fix the issues they had in the secondary. We talked about it the entire offseason, about South Carolina's secondary losing both corners, only having one scholarship corner, and they paid the price against Kenny Hill. Yes, the athletes at East Carolina, not quite the top 5 talent that we saw at Texas A&M. Shane Carden at quarterback, one of the underrated quarterbacks or underknown quarterbacks in college football, 39 touchdowns, 10 interceptions last season, and Justin Hardy is a beast as well. We like East Carolina to keep this close. Yes, South Carolina with the superior SEC depth, talent, size, and speed wins it at home, but East Carolina does not back down from anyone. They play South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina in consecutive weeks this season. And when East Carolina has a good football team under Ruffin McNeil, as they do this season, they play the big boys rather tough, and they will do it again. Take East Carolina in a confidence pick with 16 points against South Carolina. All right, let's get to the best games of the weekend. We've got BYU. We've got Texas. We know what happened to the Horns when they went to Provo last year. Taysom Hill went off 300-plus rushing yards in the first half. I know Charlie Strong is bringing pride and strength and tenacity to that job in Texas, but it's going to take some time. They lose David Ash at quarterback. Texas still struggling on offense. I believe their confidence is still subpar, and they're meeting a team that made them look bad, that really embarrassed them last season. I like the Cougars, even in Austin, to defeat Texas. Taysom Hill and the boys get the job done. Take the Cougars minus the 1 against the Horns. All right, now we've got Notre Dame, Michigan, one of those games that is must-see regardless of records, regardless of the projection of the two teams. Michigan unranked, Notre Dame, a fringe top 25 team that's risen, I believe, to number 16 this week after disposing of Rice, Everett, Golson back in the fold. I think these two teams are very evenly matched, aside from two specific items here. Notre Dame, of course, at home, and Notre Dame has Everett Golson at quarterback. This guy right here said that Devin Gardner was the best quarterback in the Big Ten going into 2013. That seemed laughable about 4 or 5 games into the season. He rebounded, cut down the turnovers late in the campaign. Devin Gardner really showed what he could do against Ohio State. But the Irish, tougher on defense. Michigan has offensive line issues. I don't believe they're going to be able to run the ball. And so it's going to be on the back of Devin Gardner. That's too much. Notre Dame's going to be balanced on offense. Irish win it, cover 3.5 in a very good football game against the Wolverines. Stanford, USC. I struggled unlike any other game. I struggled with this one right here. Stanford, USC. I really like this Trojans team. I love the defense. I think that they've got stars on this defense all over the place. In addition to all the adversity surrounding this football team, they came out in week 1 with a new head coach, and partial head coaching staff, and were able to drub Fresno State 62-13. That impressed me about the character of this football team. Now they go to Stanford, another team that has proven to play very well in the big games. David Shaw, if you look at coaching records against the top 25, David Shaw is 14-4 at Stanford. His boys have played well in the big games. We like Stanford. Minus the 3 against USC. They're a deeper football team, so we'll go with the depth. We'll go with the home team minus the 3 there. Ohio State, Virginia Tech, we like the Buckeyes, although Virginia Tech is going to keep this one close. The Buckeyes, with their issues at quarterback, although J.T. Barrett played rather well. He threw a bad pick in the first half in that game against Navy, but settled down 12 of 15, threw for over 200 yards, a couple touchdown passes. The Buckeyes' ground game was not as effective as you would think it would be, so the Buckeyes still have offensive line issues, an inexperienced quarterback, and they really don't have yet dynamic players on the outside. They've got a bevy of running backs, so they're going to have to break tackles in this game against the Hokies. Virginia Tech will not be explosive on offense, but they've got an excellent defense, like a top 10 or 15 national defense. Buckeyes win it at home, but it's rather close. It's about a touchdown game, so take Virginia Tech. That's too many points against the struggling Ohio State offense. Virginia Tech plus the 12.5. And finally, the game that I've got to see. This is the game of the year, non-conference play thus far. Michigan State goes out to Oregon. The line loves the Ducks. Vegas loves the Ducks, and they always love the Ducks. They love the flash. 13.5 is atrocious. Not that Oregon cannot win this game and win it big. It has the potential. They can rip off 3 touchdowns in 4 minutes. They can even do that against a great team or a great defense in Michigan State, or what we project to be a great defense, despite missing the 6 starters from last year. Michigan State is better on offense, better in the passing game than they were most of last season, more than they're given credit for. They're more explosive on offense. I think people are going to be surprised across the country to see Michigan State rip up the Oregon defense for huge chunks. There's going to be some scoring in this game, but the Ducks win it on a late drive. Marcus Mariota gets the job done. His dual threat capability and his ability to get outside and still be a precision passer on the run is going to prove to be the difference in this game. But take Michigan State plus the 13.5 points in a confidence pick. Confidence pick, Michigan State plus 13.5 against Oregon. Ducks win a thriller. Okay, let's review the confidence picks. Missouri minus 3.5 against Toledo. South Carolina against East Carolina. Take the Pirates plus the 16. Then you've got Oregon, Michigan State. Sparty plus 13.5 points in that one. Would love to hear your picks. Throw them out there. Let me know where I missed it. We'll talk about it right here on Mark Rogers TV.